Good morning to our Thursday class, Prashnopanishad. Let's start the class with some prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhu Bhuva Swaha, Tatsavitra Varenyam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. अस्तो मा सद्गम्या तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गम्या मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गम्या ओम सहनावतु सहना भुनक्तु सवीर्यं कर्वावहि तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्वेषावहि ओम शांति शांति शांति. So Prashnopanishad, and we are on the 5th chapter and a 5th question. So each chapter, these are the young students, the Kumars, they're asking the questions. And who's the Rishi who's answering? Rishi Kumar. So as we saw last week, Satyakama is the name of this Shishya, and he's a son of Shibi. And he's asking about Om. So he knows about Om. Om is a name and a sound of God. His question is that to what world he go, who among men meditates on Om until his death? So he's also aware about this, that there has to be a long meditation until death. Until death. This is the rule. As I was telling you last time, as you think, so you become. But thinking has to be prolonged thinking, not just one-time thinking. We are looking at the resultant of that total thought throughout your life you have been thinking about. Then Rishi Kumar is giving the answer in the rest of the chapter. As we saw that he's talking about three matra, three measures of Om. In these Upanishads, you really cannot understand the way we understand the newspapers. Upanishadic language is very deep and profound language. So this three matra word itself is a pretty deep three matra, and it's not just a and like a u m the way we write it in English, or the way we pronounce it a, ow, and like that. No, the three matra, and this is what Rishi is telling us. And he's telling us what kind of a sadhana we need to do along with it too. The life of a sadhak has to be a life of an austere, tapasya. There has to be brahmacharya in that personality. That means full control over all our organs, action organs as well as sense organs. That is brahmacharya, sense control. And then he said faith also. So tapa, brahmacharya, and shraddha. So these are the qualities we need to cultivate, and we got to understand what the three matra of that Om is. Some people say that A really means the waking state. U could be the dream state, and M could be the deep sleep state. But for us, what does it really mean? Because do we have control over our deep sleep state or the dream state? Or even sometimes we see we don't have a full control over our wakeful state. So that's why I was telling you the way this Rishi is explaining that three matra, what does it mean? Let's look at the verse number 2 first. Just to review what we talked about last week. So the Rishi is saying the syllable of Om is indeed the symbol of both the lower and the higher Brahma. That means that Brahm is here also, Brahm is up there also. That's what lower and higher Brahm means. The conditioned and the unconditioned, the finite and the infinite. That means God is here in the finite. And what is finite? All this manifested world is called a finite world. So therefore, he who knows it by this means surely attains either of them. So in other words, we got to expand our understanding. Not just to stay limited, that God is in Shiv or God is in Brahma, God is in Krishna, God is in Ram. No, God is in all of them. That is a higher Brahma. That is a higher thinking. Then he says in verse number 3, if he meditates on one measure, one matra, ek matra, then he, being enlightened by that, comes quickly to earth again. So if we are limited only in one part, God is there. God is on this earth. He says, you will come back here again. Sure, you have a faith also. You are practicing brahmacharya also. You are going through the tapasya also. But still you think that God is only in this form or here. You are limiting yourself. That's why he said the Rik Devata leads him into the world of men immediately. And being endowed with austerity, celibacy, and faith, there he easily attains greatness. So that means coming back here again in the pious family, in a good family, and starts the sadhana right away. Okay, starts the sadhana. But then he says, if he meditates on its second mantra also, becomes one with the moon. Moon over here means the higher abode, the heavenly abode. God is here also, God is there also. Om Bhu Bhava. He is led up by the mantra devta of the Yajur Veda to the world of the moon. Having enjoyed greatness there, he is guided back again. Because ultimately moksha is attainable as a human being only. That's what our Vedas say. After spending some time in the heavenly abode, he comes back again. So this is what we studied up to this point last week. So let's start with verse number 5 now. Ya punar etam tri manam om ityetah etain ev aksharen param purusham abhidyayit satejasi surya sampanna yatha padodar tvacha vinirmuchyate evam ve sapapmana vinirmukta sambham abhiruniyate brahmlokam sa etasmaha जीव धनहा परात परम पुरुषयम पुरुषम ईक्षते तद एतो श्लोको भवतः. यह means who. Punha etam. Punha means again. Etam means this. This over here means om. Three matrain with the three matra, three syllables. Om iti thus, attain by this, aksharen letter. Param, the supreme. Purusham, Purusha, being. Abhidhyayet, meditates. Sa means he. Tejasi, in the light. Surya, in the sun. Sampannaha, becomes united with. Yatha means as. Padodraha, serpent, like a snake. Tvacha, from the skin. Vi nirmuchyate, is freed. Eva means like that. Ha, where, verily. Sa means he. Pap manaha, from sins. Vinirmuktaha, becomes free. Sa means he. Sam bhi, by the Sam hymns. Sam is the Veda. You remember? First we talked about the Rig Veda, then the Yajurveda, now the Sam Veda. Even Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, what did he say? Among all the Vedas, I am the Sam Veda. Very deep Veda, profound, summons. Uniyate is elevated. Brahma Lokam, the world of Brahma. Sa means he. Itasmat, from this. Jeev Ghanat. Jeev Ghanat is the macrocosmic soul, which is called a Hiranyagarbha. Okay. Parat Param, the supreme. Purisham, existing in the heart. Purusham, the Purush. Ikshate, beholds. Tat means about that. Etau means these. Shlokau, the verses, that means two verses. Okay, Etau Shlokau, two verses. Bhavataha, all. But if again he meditates on his highest Purusha with this syllable by all its three matras, becomes united with the bright sun. As a snake is freed from its skin, so is he free from all sins. He is led by the psalm hymns to the world of Brahma, the creator. And from him, the mass of life, he beholds the Supreme Purusha residing in the heart. There are two following verses about it. Okay, so he's answering the question. Then he's telling us that there are two verses, which is verse number 6 and 7, authoritative verses from the Vedas. Those verses, they are backing up what he is telling us. So over here, this Rishi is giving us an idea what would be the destiny of those people who have been meditating all their lifetime upon Om as a synthetic wholesome. So three matra, completely. God is here, there, everywhere. God is in me, in you, in between too. God is in finite and infinite also, in conditioned and unconditioned also. There's no place God is not. In the head also, in the heels also. In the trees also, in the bugs also. Wholesome. So we are told that he is led, this kind of a devotee is led by the deities of the Psalm, Ved, hymns. Because the ego center of such a great devotee passes through all this, goes towards the eternal source of energy. goes beyond to the world of the Hiranyagarbha or a total mind. And from there, unlike those who meditate only upon one matra or the two matra, he gets merged into the total reality. And this is what's called Krama Mukti also, progressive liberation. So set of these three verses, verse number 3, 4, and 5, they really give us a vivid picture of the finite nature of the achievements accrued by meditating upon Om or parts of Om. So finite things. And there are two verses, he says, let's look at those two verses which he is mentioning over here. Tistraho matraha mrityu meya paryuktaha अन्योन्य सक्तः अन्विहि पर्युक्तः क्रियासु भाए अभ्यंतर मध्यमसु सम्यक अपि युक्तासु न कंपते. Tistra, the three matra syllables or the measures. Mrityu matyaha are mortal. Paryuktaha, employed. Paryukta. Anyo anye saktaha, when attached to one another. Anyo anye saktaha. Sakta means attached. So when attached to one another. Anvihi paryuktaha, not wrongly employed. Kriyasuhu, functions. Bahe abhyantra madhyamasu, in the external. Bahe is external. Abhyantar is internal. And the middle, madhyam. Okay. Samyak, properly, deeply. Prayuktasuhu, when employed. Na kampate, does not tremble. Gya means the knower. The knower. The three matras, when employed separately, are mortal finite. But when they are strung together, they are not in any sense of the term wrongly employed. But when they are properly employed, in all their internal, external, and the midway functions, the knower thereafter trembles not. So if we think that God is only up in the seventh heaven, he says, you are not stringing it together. If you think that God is only here or in between, still it's not complete. God is here, there, and anywhere else also. That is properly employing this mantra. So in this Vedic mantra, there is a clear note of warning actually, by which the Rishi explains the relative merits of chanting the Om and meditating upon its first three matras individually. When you are separately meditating upon, but on the other hand, when the three matras are strung together and rhythmically chanted with the appropriate meditation, it's not the chanting alone. Sure, initially we learn how to chant, but ultimately we got to appropriately meditate upon it. Okay, that's why to a little child we say, memorize the alphabet. But we tell them how to write it. Then we teach them how to make the simple words, when we teach them the grammar also, when we teach them how to make the sentences also. And this is what Rishi is telling us over here. Sure, learn how to chant. Okay? Or another way we often are told that the name of God, Ram Ram Bol. From the mouth you are saying Ram Ram or Om or Krishna Krishna. Then Ram Rama Rat. Okay, you don't even have to make any effort, but you are just saying it. But don't leave your sadhana there. Take your sadhana to the next level. Ram Rama Ram Ram. Absorb yourself into it. Merge into it. This is what Rishi is telling us over here. So the Vedas declare when they are strung together, they are not in any sense of the term wrongly employed. When we do an act, it can fall into three categories. Either really good, any action, or not bad, or positively bad. So it's like between the positive goodness and a positive bad, there is a dusky area of not bad, not so bad. Okay, but not so bad is not positive goodness either. Remember that. Not so bad. Food we eat, one is nourishing. The other one is definitely harmful food. But there's an in between. In between. But in between does not mean that it's good. This is what he's telling us. So in Om meditation, to concentrate upon the various syllables separately is positively mortal, finite, so not available. But when they are strung together, they are not wrongly employed. So as seekers, as sadhaks of self-perfection, we should understand it, how to chant Om with the three matras together, putting emphasis upon any particular matra. That's fine. Sometimes we need to put emphasis somewhere, but make sure that you string it together. We got to learn how to rightly employ it. Only then the result will be greater. And right includes a perfect alignment with the external and the middle functions. External should necessarily mean consciousness of the external world of sense objects. Okay, because when we are in a wakeful state, this is where we are. This is available to us when we talk to others, when we deal with others, when we do our duties. That is external. And internal means the simple consciousness illuminating the causal sheet also, the deep sleep. And the middle arena would be when we are under the in the domain of our subtle body, the mind and the intellect. That is the middle. It's like our dream state of existence. Because these are all layers of our consciousness. That's why the great yogis, they have taught us how to sleep like a yogi, how to behave like a yogi, how to sit like a yogi, how to walk like a yogi. That means constantly stay united with oh. What do I tell you all the time? Before sleeping, it's good to meditate. And when you are on the bed, the last thing should be on your mind is the name of God. Whichever mantra you want to use, whether you want to use Soham or Om or your Guru mantra, it does not matter as long as the bhavana is right. And when you get up in the morning, again the same thing. If you make this as a habit, you will see that Your dreams will change. Your sleep will become better. You are in the lap of God. That's how our mind becomes clean. That's how our chit becomes clean also. Okay? Fill this up with Om only. So one who does Om Upasana properly, with sincerity, regularity, and consistent effort, and who is established in the tapasya also, in the brahmacharya also, in the truthfulness also. What will happen to this kind of a person? Will merge into the silence, which he mentioned earlier, the amatra. Silence is amatra. That is infinite. These three states are still individually, they are finite. But the silence is infinite. Only then we will experience the all-pervading self, the life factor in ourselves. And that's where the unity comes. That's what the yoga is. So to be in the awareness of the infinite reality into which all polarity dissolves is to transcend all the agitations. That's what Vikampanam means. This pluralistic world just keeps us shaking. Kampana, trembling. Trembling means good thing happens, we are up. Bad thing happens, we are down. Constantly up and down. Constantly. And this up and down is of what? The mind. We know when the ups and downs, ups are very high and the downs are very low, we all know that is a disease, whatever name we want to give. But even a little bit of up and down, according to a yogi's point of view, that's also a disease. Lord Krishna said, Sthit Pragya. There has to be an equanimity in our mind. So try to maintain in ourselves the equanimity, the balance, while playing in this ever-changing pluralistic world. In this objectified world. This is the sadhana. He who has realized this changeless eternal factor, the illuminator of all experiences, he is a jnani and he trembles not. He shakes not. So this word used here is so beautiful. There's a deep significance in this word, na kampate. And this word has been used in Bhagavad Gita also by Lord Krishna. So not only trembling because of the fear, because normally the fear also makes us tremble. But also no trembling in the sentimental emotions too. Mind always steady. Because trembling comes because of love and hatred, success and failure, honor and dishonor also. In all those situations, equanimity. So in other words, all agitations, physical, mental, and intellectual, are included in this term. Na kampate. Na kampate. So now we have to see that we do meditate, we do chant, we go to the temples, we study. Where is our mind when something like that happens? Is there a less agitation than before? Then there's a progress. Are we less fearful of the changes? Then there's a progress. We have to judge ourselves. Judge ourselves. Reflect upon our own mind. Okay, let's look at the last verse of this chapter. ऋग भी एतम यजुर्भी अंतरिक्षम स साम्य अभियत एतत् कव्यो वेदयन्ते तम ओमकारेण यत्नेन अन्वतिः विद्वान् यत् छन्दम अजरम अमृतम अभयम परम च इति. ऋग भी, by the Rig Veda. Etam, this means this world of mortals. Yajur bhi, the Yaju mantra, which was like a second mantra. Antariksham, the sky, the world of the moon situated in the sky, Antariksham. Sam bhi, by the Psalms. So that's like a third mantra with the help of the two mantras also, first two also. Kavyaha, the wise, Vedayantehe, no. Tatam Omkarena. That is the word Om, which we are discussing over here. Vidwan, that is a scholar. Tat Chandam, that chand, that meter. Ajram, undecaying. Amritam, that is immortal. Abhyam, free from all fear. Param is supreme. Cha iti. Iti means thus. Cha means and. And before that, there was a Om Karen by Om. Yatnen means, that means Yatan, effort. Anveti gets united with. Through the Rig mantra, Devta, he reaches this world. That means he comes back here again. That's what Rishi Pipalad said also. Led by Yajur mantra Devta, he reaches the world of the mains, heavenly abode. And guided by the Psalm verses, he reaches Brahmalok. By means of the syllable Om, the wise one reaches also that which is quiet, silence, undecaying, deathless, fearless, and supreme. With the help of that silence. Amatra. So we have to understand this verse the way we are told to understand the profound Upanishads. Not literally, but what is the significance of these verses? Because Vedic mantras are very brief. That's why discourses are needed to open it up for us. Otherwise, we cannot comprehend the deeper significance. So, already we saw that we are meditating upon the one matra, but we got to be guided by the matra also. Matra, the silence. So whenever there is a Om, before the second Om chanting, there should be a silence. And you will see that with your own practice, that period of silence becomes bigger and bigger. Because that's where you are fully concentrated. Period of silence. Live in that kind of atmosphere. atmosphere of spirituality. In your own homes also, more and more silence. That's better. It's like if the TV doesn't have to be on, don't turn it on. You're in the car, there's no need to turn the news on all the time. Silence. When you walk outside, even when you're doing exercise, yoga, silence. Try to feel the connection with God through that silence. So he says, those who are meditating upon the U sound, A-U-M, if you want to understand it that way, of the syllable Om, guided by the deity, Yajur mantra. So he's in this mantra telling us whatever Rishi Piplad said is backing it up with this Vedic mantra. The one matra, two matra, three matra, all these three states have been described earlier in the previous mantra. But about those who have meditated long upon the Om syllable, with all its letters together, consistently put all their intense effort and understanding, the Supreme, the mantra says, the wise one reaches these and also that which is beyond. Okay? Reaches beyond, Param. So that means the world of the finite and the realm of the infinite. When a person has attained the moksha, where does he go? He's everywhere. He's in the finite also. He's in the infinite also. That's why we say that God is in the murti also, in the form, and God is formless also, everywhere. So this is what happens to that person. The moment of the vision of the infinite, that's what we are looking for. So the knower of Brahma, apart from the above, also becomes consciousness itself. And it's not only these that he gains, but which is beyond also. Beyond also. It's almost like if you give somebody a gold necklace. You're not only giving a necklace, you're giving a gold also. The essence of that thing is given too. So this is what it really means over here. You are becoming finite also. You are in the finite, you are in the infinite also. So wise one comes to experience that which is undecaying, achara, deathless, which is amrita, and abhya, which is fearless, and supreme, which is param. So these terms which he is using over here with a special technical dexterity. Yogic seers, they have this dexterity which is called a skillfulness in their writing also. So from the finite, the infinite can only be pointed out because these words are finite. So he is pointing out the infinite with the help of the finite words. Okay, so this is the technique. So to the great rishis, having experienced the infinite, they have to explain it to us who are living the finite realities. And if they have to make us understand, this is what this rishi is trying to make us understand. They have to talk in the language which we can understand. This is the language. Because in our delusory existence, we generally experience 5 modifications. These are 5 modifications. Throughout our life, we have seen it, we have felt it, we have seen in others also. Birth, growth, decay, disease, and death. These are the five. Birth, growth. We see the baby taking birth. Maybe we don't remember our own birth, but we see others' birth. Somebody is born, then they grow, then the decay, then the disease, and then there's a death. These are the five modifications. So an ordinary mortal life is a round of these agonizing changing. And when these agonizing changes happen, there are tears. There is a fear. It's almost like the ignorance, the avidya gives us that trembling. Avidya does. It's like a very slippery ground of these changes. It brings tears in our eyes. So these are very common experiences we have gone through, because they belong to this particular plane of existence. So that's why these terms he is using to negate the total experience, the supreme experience. In the supreme experience, there's no decaying. That's why he said it's undecaying. So the experience of constant decay, which is part and parcel of our life now, is not there. There's no decay. Ajram. And then second term he uses the deathless, because that term is used to suggest that the mortality that we are suffering here, which is called death, not only in our physical structure, but also in the outer world. Because it's conditioned. Outer world, the finite world, is conditioned by the time and space. But there's no conditioning in this infinite. And the fear, the third word, that is almost like a bug, which is, and in Rishi Patanjali's language, it's called abhinivesh, the fear. It seems like we are born with it. And it remains in us all along. Sometimes even our deeper meditation, if we are not connected with our guru in deeper meditation, there's a fear. I will lose my individuality. That's a fear. So that's why very beautifully he put this word over here, abhyam. This fear complex, we got to let go. So the infinite, being the one without a second, cannot have fear, because fear is always, another way we can see fear, fear is always from something else. Somebody else, fear. We are in our own house, we are fine. Some sound comes, we become afraid. Fear is always from somebody else. But when we understand it's all Brahma, it's all God, it's all love, it's one only. It's only one. What is the fear? There's nobody else. It's only one. So it is indicated here as abhyam. So if there is an undecaying, deathless, and fearless state of existence, our intellect still may ask us, is it really supreme? So that's why Rishi put it in over there. Some other Rishi, not Pipalad Rishi. Pipalad Rishi is only quoting these verses over here now. Because the wandering of the mind can go somewhere else, that maybe there is something else higher. Something else which is better. So in order to show that the eternal, fearless Brahm is uncaused, and yet is the cause for the total world of polarity. He is telling us it's Param. There's nobody higher than that. And I'm sure you're thinking about the words of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna's words. He said, there is a Prakriti, there's a Purush, and there's a Paramatma. There's nothing higher than that. Param Purush. This is what this Rishi is telling us to. He says with the Om Upasana, because the student was asking, with the Om Upasana, where does the sadhak go? What happens to that sadhak? So that's why he is telling us, with the help of all these verses, with the Vedic mantras also, he is saying that he becomes one with the infinite, with the Om sadhana done properly. Okay, so it's not just only the chanting the Om, it is the understanding what this Om means and dissolving all the lower levels of our consciousness into the bigger. Let's stop it here because this is the end of this chapter. So we'll start the last chapter, chapter number 6, next week. Om Purnamada Purnam Idam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Visheshyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.